Oh, I forgot that I even asked you for that. Thank you. I'll just leave this right here. Just going live for a few minutes. Lock and close my door. Don't say nothing. Thank you. Oh, hello. Hello. I wouldn't even consider this exactly night owl hours per se. It's only was 11 something. It's late enough though. It's late enough. Hi, Teresa Johnston. How are you, sweetie? Aw, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Saturday is my birthday, and for some reason, like this time of the year is just also like so magical for me. Like I'm usually just in a good space, you know? And even though, I have a blast for my birthday for sure, but I take like a spiritual meaning behind it as well. So leading up to my birthday, I am decluttering things and I'm reflecting on the previous year. I'm setting intentions on the coming year and thinking about my lessons. Like I'm really like taking inventory like people do on New Year's Eve. I do this on my solar return. They call it your birthday for those who don't know. But yeah, I appreciate it. I see crazy shit pop on my phone all day. People going through this, people not making it another moment of life. So I definitely appreciate all the time that God is granting me here in the 3D. And I definitely know that it's for a mission. But anyhow, I don't want to be digressing. But I do want to talk about the thing about being a strong one. I was just pondering on this today as I was going about my business. Hey, Tiffany Chanel. Now, that is a very familiar name, one of my day ones. It's nice to see that you made it, and hopefully, my camera is not too low. I bought this nightgown a year or so ago, and I was supposed to stitch it because I'm like, this is made for someone that got like double F's. Like I'm a C cup, okay? I'm a strong C cup. That's all I got. And I used to have like a safety pin with it, and yeah, never mind. Moving right along. Moving right along. The thing about being a strong one, I do consider myself a very strong person. And I definitely believe, image wise, that people definitely peg me as a strong person. But, I've definitely noticed how that works out in my life and how people tend to deal with a person like that. Like, of course, you're getting less checked on. People tend to minimize the humanistic side of you. Like, you make things look too easy sometimes, and you take those licks and you keep on ticking, and you're so resilient when you have that type of energy. It may be even hard for people to know if you even want their help, honestly. It's great to see you too, Tiffany. Mm-hmm. Yep, Tiffany says so many more expectation on us strong ones. So I will say that generally speaking, that may be a learned behavior, something that might have even started in your childhood, where you were maybe in situations where you had to grow up fast, or maybe you felt like more of the parent than your actual parents for whatever reasons. So yeah, but being the strong one, in one hand, it's great that you have this independent nature, but a lot of times how we got to that route could be actually pretty sad. It may have been situations where you didn't have much to rely on. Like life taught you that, you better cover your own ass because, there's not a lot of people here supporting you. So I know in my life, I've been on the island many times, but us strong ones, we also learn that being on the island with God, that makes a big difference too. So I'll definitely say that. But at the same token, um, it might teach you to be a little bit too damn independent, you know? I remember one time in my life, I was running the channel, working two full-time jobs, raising six kids, some of them special need, and then trying to manage myself. And I was in a relationship, and I was talking to my spiritual advisor. I'm like, man, I'm done. Like, I'm beat right now. And I just didn't feel like I had a lot of support in my life, honestly. And she said, girl, you better start hiring people, like build you a team. If you don't have the actual support, through your personal relationships, make you some business ones, pay somebody to clean your house a couple times a week, hire this. Like she said, look, start getting some of this stuff off of your plate so you're not running yourself through the ground. So I definitely would recommend that. And sometimes trying to do everything by yourself, it can actually lower the results. But at the same token, I'm just going to say this, a lot of times, those of us that are more introverted and have learned to be more self-reliant because of the lack of support, we find that sometimes we work better independently in a certain kind of way. So, you have to use your discretion to know when it's a time where you need to have a team and pull some people in versus, um, I'm going to work better independently. Tiffany is saying it felt like it happened when I went through a divorce and became a single mom. Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of times when a lot of men, they divorce the woman, they divorce everybody. It's not right, but it happens. And she said, yeah, God is faithful. He absolutely is. Like, and he'll work through strangers a lot of times, he'll bring your help to you. He'll put it on somebody to, be a part of your journey in that kind of way. And Tiffany says, yes, that's what I did. Hired babysitters to be a part of my village. Yeah. Yeah, because the burnout is real. The burnout is real. Like you got to remember you are still human. Like I think when I was a lot younger, maybe in my 20s, I thought it was cute to say, yeah, I'm Superwoman. Like, no, I'm not a superhero. I have my gifts and everything, but I am not a superhero. I still need to get adequate rest. I still need my self-care. I still got to go see my doctor and keep up on myself. Definitely. Definitely. But there's a lot of angles we could talk about this strength. I just never want it to be to you guys' detriment. That's what I want to say. I don't want it to be to your detriment. And sometimes it's that strength that actually draws in. Am I here? Because it says something went wrong. Okay, I guess I'm still here. The number's going up. All right. I just don't want it to be to your detriment, because sometimes that strength thing could also be someone that's just used to rescuing people, taking on other people's burdens, overextending themselves, and that sort of thing. So that doesn't make you strong. That might make you a doormat. That might make you exhausted. So we can't just always measure in strength by how much you can step in and clean up other people's messes. And yet again, something that was trained. I know as a child, I had to step in. I had to grow up fast. My mother, she passed away at 7. So at a very early age, my stepfather, he put me in charge of a lot of things right away. And he made me very motherly to my younger sisters. Like I was like the only one who did chores until I went off to college. Like I had a lot of responsibilities thrown on me. I do feel in hindsight that he tried to make me fill in as much as my mother's void as humanly possible that I could. But it trained me, it wired me to be that person and step in to overextend, to take on things. And it trained me to be used to carrying more than my fair share. And, it's something that I've had to deal with in my adulthood for sure. So, you know, I'll point out that aspect of strength as well. And also, people don't know the pain that's behind that strength. Like, yeah, I've, you start building these muscles. I call them these psychological muscles. You learn how to compartmentalize. You learn how to bulldoze through trauma and traumatic situations because it's like you're just trying to survive and not sink. You're trying to swim. I recall another incident in my life where I was at the end of my first marriage, and my ex husband had put his hands on me for the last time. And it was not the nicest experience. Like this time that he did it. It was the first time it was in front of our children, as a matter of fact. So that just, I'm like, man, like it was one thing like this happened, not all the time, but sprinkled through the years, it happened. But this is the first time it actually happened in front of the kids. I came home on a lunch break, and I lived close enough to where I could do that. And I was like, oh, I was spending time with the kids. We were all eating, and he had some questions about something, and we had some words, and things escalated. He put his hands on me, and he ended up scratching me. I had like some blood on my work shirt, and um, the kids were just all over the place. And when it happened, I was like, oh my God, my lunch break is over. I had a blue collar job at that time, and I, attendance was like something you didn't want to play with. Okay. So in my mind, I'm like, I know I'm going to divorce him. That was first. It was like slow motion as his hands were coming towards me. The hell? I knew the relationship was over. But either way, I was also just thinking about my job and everything. I was like, oh my God, I have to get back to work. Da, 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 da. You know what I did? I zipped my coat up to hide the blood stains, and I literally went back to work right after that incident. Like somebody else might have fell apart, like all types of things could have happened. They could have rose up to his level of behavior, and it could have turned into a whole big old fight. Um, yeah, I did that. I zipped up my coat. I cried on the way to work. But by the time I had gotten there, because I worked at the airport, I took a shuttle back in and all that stuff. And, by the time I made it back to my desk and got to that point, nobody would even know what I had gone through. Those are the times, I won't say that I was numb, but I had learned the skill of compartmentalizing because I had been through so many experiences as a child where I had got humiliated, and my stepfather might have accused me of doing something I didn't do, and he put his hands on me or did something, and then I had to like go do a chore. It didn't stop, whatever agenda he had for me. Like, you're still going to go do this stuff, but I'm going to deal with you, and you're still going to go do this stuff. I learned how to compartmentalize. It's a good skill to have, but when you compartmentalize, you definitely have to make sure that you come back around and deal with those emotions at some point. Because I think for me, it got to a certain point in my life where I felt like, you know what? You've been compartmentalizing, but it's turning into just pushing shit down. And I kind of like compared that to the beach ball on the top of a pool, and you pushing that down. It takes a lot of pressure to do that. And eventually, that ball is going to shoot right up, and those are the emotions. And when you do that for a certain amount of time, your body starts to have a reaction to that. It started out with me feeling like I was having like stomach ulcers. So I was carrying a lot of stress in my stomach. My stomach would start hurting. Actually, later in life, it was one of the triggering things that I realized too. My stomach would start hurting from stress. And it's something that I've been doing a lot of researching on how we hold trauma inside of our bodies. Yeah, that's a good one right there. But yeah, sometimes I don't want to digress. It's so many, branches to this conversation. But the strength that you have, there's a lot behind that. It's a lot behind that. There's some type of endurance that's been built up from some type of situation, right, that made this person this way. But it's the self-awareness. So, hopping on here and just definitely making sure, if you believe you're in this type of category where you're the strong one, um, it's important to do your self-care, and it's important for you to have an outlet, you know, and find as many healthy therapeutic ones that you can. Um, I've legit had moments in my life where it's great to talk to God, of course, first and foremost, but there were times where I just really wanted to talk to a person. It's like, well, who did the coach talk to? Who can the coach talk to? You know, I've had times in my life where I've been in and out of counseling at times, but sometimes I get a little deterred from it just because I feel like it's so extra the way the brick and mortar ones are set. I'm like, ugh, like I gotta catch this person up to speed. Like they ain't gonna be able to understand where I'm coming from. Like if they don't know where I came from, it's like, ugh, I don't feel like telling my life story. I just like sometimes I don't want to do it. And I see Michael. Oh, hey, Michael. He says, blessings from Amsterdam in the Netherlands. Thank you. You're welcome. And Michael is definitely one of my day ones, and he's on my Facebook support group. I do know that. Tiffany says, yes, I had to learn to choose my health first. Yeah, physical and mental, right? And, you know, part of me being strong, I had to learn was strong enough for me to actually start saying no, strong enough to set boundaries, strong enough to be gentle with myself, strong enough for not feeling guilty or not releasing those expectations of me needing to rescue people all the time or fix everybody's problems. It's okay. Like, if my schedule isn't filled with something and someone else has a problem, it doesn't mean that I have to fill my schedule with that. Like I can keep my schedule chill. It's okay for me to rest. It's okay for me to acknowledge Rome wasn't built in one day. That's one thing my kids hear me say that for years and years because I learned as I became a single mother through my divorce, I was like, look, I'll do my best, but I take the my body's signals, and when it says, "Girl, you better take several seats," I'm taking them real fast. You know, I'm taking them real fast because the last thing I want to do is wear myself out. And age myself and stress my body out. Like I can acknowledge the times in my life where I have done it. And even as single mothers out there, it's enough stress as it is, even when you're trying to everybody don't have a chef and a personal trainer and a full-time nanny and two full-time house cleaners. Like everybody don't have all of that going on. So even when you're trying to, balance things out as zen as possible, it's still a lot on your plate as it is. Tiffany says yes to saying no and setting boundaries without feeling guilty. Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I'm all about self-preservation. I'm all about um like I said, I seen the growth, honestly, because you'll know when you actually start putting this into action. Because it's one thing for me to sit up here and say, you know, I was strong enough to say no and blah blah blah. But when you actually see yourself putting these things in action, when your mind is rewired a whole nother way. Like I believe in yesterday's live, I was telling you about a gentleman that I met. Very nice guy, honestly, but he had a very toxic connection in his life that I could see probably be his downfall if he doesn't change it very soon. But it would block him from other healthy connections because when other healthy people come in and see that codependency and the way that it's playing out in his life, it's definitely going to push other people away. But I wasn't trying to rescue him. I wasn't trying to renew his mind. I mean, he was clear on where he stood and where he was in his journey. Like, no, this is how I am, and I don't see nothing wrong with that. Me looking from the outside in and my emotional maturity, I seen it. I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to spend, my whole connection with this person talking one in one ear and out the other, and coming second to this and that. I'm like, oh hell to the no. So when you start thinking like that, and your first train of thought isn't what's in someone else's best interest, but what about me? What do I deserve at this point in my life? What am I looking for? How are these elements or aspects going to play out in my life? And do I deserve that? Then you have gotten that energy out of you. You've gotten it under control. And it doesn't mean that I'm not nurturing at all or that I wouldn't help anyone. Hell, I'm here on this live. I'm still putting into this channel. I'm still working on things. I'm very much still available to help people and do my part in this world. But it's in a way that helps me to maintain my balance, you know? So people, they don't know. They're not in my shoes. They're just not in my shoes. And if you were, and if you knew behind the doors, then you would understand why things are the way they are for me. But I do the best that I can. So the strength part is just important in a lot of ways. Like, just use it, like I said, to your advantage. Like being strong enough to let people go. Being strong enough to let people be where they are as well. Because that strength and, coming from being that fixer energy, I'm like, nope, 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 nope. Nope, nope. For years, I've had the same mentality where it would be, no, I want people to hopefully present who they are, and either that'll be good enough for me or not. But I'm not trying to change them. I'm just trying to get to the bottom of it. Not even. I'm just trying to get as far as I think. If I get to the surface of you and that's already too much, then there's no need to get to the bottom of nothing. Like, I've seen enough already. You know what I mean? So, hey, CK. And Tiffany says, I've had to turn down clients temporarily because my priorities have shifted to me and my daughter. Yeah. Yeah. And it is what it is. It is what it is. And that's good that, you're able to have those boundaries and that you're in a position to do this. So that's good. That's very good. But yeah, strength is a beautiful thing when it's not in a stubborn form, when it's rooted in reality, when it's divinely guided, right? It's absolutely a superpower. It's a superpower. It doesn't make you a superhero. It all just works together like a nice gumbo with a whole bunch of things mixed in there that just helps the strength, right? Because it's nothing like fun about being strong and wrong. Like when you strong and wrong, what type of burdens, what type of setbacks are you inviting into your life at that point on your journey? You're going to learn one way or the other, but you don't want to be strong and wrong. It happens. It's happened to all of us. We've all been hard-headed at times and made poor decisions, but and that's life. That's life, but yeah. So, and then just being strong enough to admit that also that you need help. That's a strength right there as well, because sometimes it does take a community, and it just is that way. I remember when I was pregnant with my twins. Once it got to the end of that pregnancy, um, I don't know how many of you guys know this, but I experienced homelessness. I have experienced homelessness in my life. When I got pregnant with the twins, a family member of mine asked me, she was like, you know what? Your relationship with the twins' father is quite sticky. I think you should come down here. It was states away. And just start over. Just start over down here. And I was like, you know what? Maybe this is a good idea. I need a change. It was just so much going on. I'm like, maybe I just need this change. So the way that I did it back then is absolutely not how I would do it in my emotional maturity today. But back then, I trusted this family member pretty much blindly. And I gave up my place. Me and my kids went down there, and within a month, she had kicked us out. Like, it put me on this hamster wheel. Here I'm down in this popping area, trying to get into the best school district, trying to find a home for me and my kids. And it was just, the market was just moving so fast at that time. It was like I was too slow. Like it just wasn't falling into place. I ended up sending the kids back up north. It was during school break, so that was okay. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna send them up here. I'm gonna go back down there in a hotel. It didn't work out with a relative, but I still want to give the area a chance. And I'll send for them at right before school starts back, and go from there. Let me tell you, I landed a great job down there, and um, but I still could not land the place. I don't know if I was just being picky. I was like, girl, I should just chose something to get in something, right? But I was being very picky. I wanted to get into a certain area, and it was not easy. So once it was time for school to start, I had to send back for my kids. I came back up to get them up north. We went back down south and in America. And we were in a fancy hotel. At this point, I was staying, previously when it was just me, I was staying in like a little low budget place. It was just me. I upgraded it to like this efficiency type feel. It was nice, but still wasn't a home. I had a refrigerator, a stove, and all this stuff, and it was costing me enough, way more than if I were renting something. But I'm telling you, I tried hard. Thank God I had the job. I've always had a good career, so that's really been helpful to me. But once I got to be 8 months pregnant with the twins and I still hadn't found a position, I'm like, God is not opening the doors for me down here in that way. And I was like, well, in my emotional maturity, I was mature enough at that time and strong enough to say, well, do I want to stay down here where I don't have any support? I don't know anybody. And Lakia, is it going to be easier for you to, if you're going to be in a situation where you're going to have to travel with these babies, would you rather go up north while the babies are still in your belly? Or do you want to be having newborn babies and then having to take flights or whatever, finding your way back up? I'm like, ugh, I'm going to have to go up while they still in my belly, you know? Yeah, that was crazy, girl, Tiffany. That was crazy. That was a crazy time in my life. So, and I had such a good rapport with this family member. Um, I had no reason to think that I wouldn't have been able to trust them. But either way, mm, I tied up my loose ends down south and I ventured back up north. The whole goal is I called one of my mother's sisters, that side of the family. I never really asked for much from them, but hey, I was in a crisis situation here. I'm pregnant with twins. I already had 4 kids. Like it was so messy, you guys. Um, the family member was like, sure, you can come back, you know. And I was like, all right, you know, I didn't want to feel like a burden or anything, but it was just is what it is. Once I came up, I had to switch my flight around. I was supposed to take a morning flight, and I ended up having to take a very late flight because it was so much loose ends I was tying in my 8 months being down there. I was trying to do everything the right way, and I had to bump my flight up. So when I called my family member to give them the update, I'm like, you know, instead of being there at 12 noon, I'm going to be there at like 12 a.m. And they had an issue. It's like, well, I got to work in the morning. And da 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 da. I was like, oh no. I just had a situation with another family member that switched up on me. And if they're already switching up on me right now, I'm like, girl, I don't know 100% what you gonna do, but we not gonna put ourselves in that situation. It kind of triggered me. And I was like, you know what, God, um, I don't know what we gonna do, but we not doing that. But long story short, um, so I did not do that. I did go back up north, but I did not go with that family member. I had offered them money and everything, but it didn't matter. I was like, shit, you know what? I learned from that other previous family member not to overstay the welcome. I absolutely learned that. Who is texting me? Okay, let me mute this for now. But I don't want to digress. In that situation, I ended up getting help from the community. You know, I came up. It was I guess I could tell you about that first day and then we'll digress it to something else because this isn't really like my life story live chat. You know what I mean? But it was definitely a rough patch for me. So I took the flight. The flight went smoothly. Shout out to Spirit Airline. And me and the kids, we took as much stuff as we could as far as our carry-ons because we had a lot of clothes and whatnot. And once we got up there, it was so cold because I'm coming from down south to up north. Oh my God. It was the middle of the winter because the twins were born in January. And we had to use 3 taxis to go to a fairly decent hotel. I had enough money left for that and get our things there. So we did that. And the next morning, you guys, I woke up to the worst panic attack of my life. Like I had, um, during my pregnancy with the twins, I had developed panic attacks. I was like, goodness, the last time I had one of those was when I was in playing college basketball. I played college basketball, and um, and that was just hyperventilation from them busting our butts, like doing all of those suicides and stuff. And one day I was like, I was just trying to. I felt like I needed a brown bag, one of them old school methods, like back then. But yeah, so that was a different type of anxiety attack, but this was like legit panic attack. I woke up out of my sleep into it and it lasted for literally 3 hours. You know, I felt like I had the stress of the world on me. It was just so much had gone on in my life during this time and whew, that's why it's like when you go through these all these type of situations it's like a small thing to a giant. Like, you know, it takes a lot to get me there because I've had so many rough experiences. The threshold, like my endurance for these type of things, it takes a lot. But anyway, we got to the hotel. The next morning, I went down to my local county assistant's office and I told the lady, I was like, yeah, we came up from Georgia. I don't know how I'm going to feed my kids today, where we're going to be. It's just a lot going on. And then she was like, have you experienced domestic violence? And honestly, when she said that to me, I literally was thinking about all the domestic violence I experienced in my life. I didn't say a word to her. She was like, don't you say a word. You wait right there. You wait right there. And She went away. She came back in like 20 minutes. She was like, I have somewhere for you guys to go. And it was in a very nice area. And that was the beginning of me eventually getting out of homelessness. Okay. But it was all through strangers. Like, there's a social worker that I met. Her name is Beth, and she passed away. And when I found out she passed away, I was like, what? She was really like an angel to me on earth. Um, she hooked me up with all of these just community organizations I never even knew about. Like the twins had so many donations of diapers and wipes and all these cute clothes from Target. Like it was all this stuff like pouring in for them. Um, on top of me doing what I could. I drove, when I came back up, I had an Uber account because before I got pregnant with the twins, I just did it when I was bored. I mean, I don't do ride sharing. At a certain time in my life, I just never did it again because it just didn't feel safe anymore. But either way, I did Uber, you guys, all the way up until a few days before I had the twins, and I carried them full term. I carried them to 38 weeks. They were both over 5 pounds. There was no issue with the pregnancy, but imagine Coach Lakia driving Uber, taking people to the airport, picking up their suitcases with a big old belly, putting it in my trunk. Like I did this to make sure that my cell phone bills were being paid. I was tying up loose ends for the twins. I didn't have to pay rent at that time because they had me in some type of like a transitioning type of thing for people who didn't have anywhere to live. Um, and then you were like transition into, they would make some type of plan for you to like exit out of the program. As far as me, I was one of the easier people in the program because I had college degrees and stuff, and I was just merely there because I was pregnant with twins. I was 8 months pregnant. No one's gonna hire me at this time, and a woman, is in a very vulnerable position when she's at the end of her pregnancies with one child, let alone two, you know. And it was one of those times where I just had to take several seats. It was like, you're not going to be able to just, God was like, this is one time in your life where even you can't do anything about this. Like the doctor told you, you're having a C-section. You're going to have to heal from that. And these babies, you're going to have to accept help at this time. You know, you're going to have to accept help. So, and I got that help, and I did. And I'm very thankful for it to this day. Um, I had a couple of friends that were very loyal to me as well at that time, that took me and the twins home from the hospital. And even with that, after I had the twins, I want to say about a week after I had them, I went to the supermarket to get formula. It was so rough. I had to keep two of the kids home from school, and they had to help me get in and out of the car because of the C-section. I was not supposed to be out of the house. I was not supposed to be running those errands at all. I should have just asked a friend to do that, but here I was being strong. So I went to this supermarket back in the area where I used to live, and they had seen me, they knew I was pregnant in the beginning. They seen me towards the end of my pregnancy. And the lady came up to me, and she was like, where I'm from, people don't be coming out of the house after they had a baby that quick. You ain't supposed to be in this supermarket. And it just made me feel like even more, it was magnifying or shining a light on the lack of community, um, in a certain sense that I had in my life at that time. But either way, that was the last time I did that. My girlfriend Jamea, she bought me groceries one day and she refused to take my money. Like, those are just the kind of friends that she's a friend for life. I could say that. She's a friend for life. I'll never forget her. And she's pregnant with her first child now. She's pregnant with her first child. I'm so happy for her. And I'm definitely gonna show up and show out for her baby shower. But yeah, there were some I had a couple of good friends. The same couple friends that I said I had in the earlier live chat. Yeah. But man, I have stories like Mama has lived. There's no way that I can come on here and have a channel like this, you guys. This shit is not from a book. I can get all technical with you guys, but at the end of the day, I've been there and I've done that. I understand. And that's how I'm able to connect with you guys. When I read your messages, I could feel a certain feeling because I felt that feeling before. I know what it feels like to experience narcissistic abuse and all types of abuses, to have to do the work, to cry from the depths of my soul, to have to start over a couple times, to get blindsided by a demonic ass person. Like, I know what these things feel like, to feel like hopeless, to feel suicidal. I know what all of these things feel like. I've been there and I've done that. But it just, it makes it easier for me to actually connect with you guys. Aw, Tiffany says, thank God for your friends and for sharing your story to bless others. Yeah. I just, a lot of times people don't know because on social media, we're trained to just show the beautiful parts of life. Nobody really wants to talk about their hardships too much. We just want to post pretty pictures and not talk about, what it took to get to a certain point. Like, I wasn't always this refined. There were times where I was very much lost, very much gullible, very much, just self sabotaging and all types of things. And it took me experiencing some real shit, some really hard lessons, you guys. But I needed to. I needed to. So God will allow you. He'll allow you to hurt your feelings. He'll allow you to feel these things because, like I've said for years, um, pain is a good way to get somebody's attention. And sometimes for some people, that's the best way. It's not the best way for me anymore. Like, me and him, we have a much better understanding. But honestly, it was through those experiences where he revealed himself to me. Like, he showed me where before that all I really needed was him, honestly. Because there were times in my life where I had a lot of codependent energy with people. But it was during those times where he said, if you put your faith in me, and it's true, I really put my faith in him at that time. And somehow, and it's not, I won't say somehow like this is miraculous, like he was connecting the dots. Like, I tell you, and it was all through strangers and my two friends. But generally speaking, strangers. Like, I remember there was a time where I barely had a few bucks in my pocket. I sent my son to put like $3 on my gas. And then when he went in there, there was he came back out. He was like, oh, the person behind me put another 15 on our gas. This person, people do that. And I do that for people now. I pay it forward because I know what it's like. If I'm in a supermarket line and I see people putting items back, especially if it's like a mother and children, I'm like, no, put that stuff back on the counter. I got it. I'll pay your whole tab. God's been so good to me that I do things like that. And it makes me, I've been a secret Santa and everything, you guys, like on a low. I mean, I'm telling you guys, but it's not something I'm not telling you for any attaboys. What I'm telling you is because I know firsthand. I know firsthand what it's like to be in certain situations. And I don't like seeing mother and women and children in situations. And I know I can't save everybody, but when I could step in or something is right in front of my face, I'll do what I can for sure. You know, that's the least I could do because honestly, the way my life was then, it is not the way that it is now, you guys. I'm very blessed, and that was that season of my life. And, my life isn't perfect, but I am a far ways from there. And it's only getting better, honestly. But, that experience really refined me and grew me up like about 20 years. I think about the person that I was when I first got pregnant with the twins that even put me in that predicament, honestly. It wouldn't be happening today. It totally wouldn't even happen today. Not to say that I want to give my twins back because they're precious little angels, and that's a whole nother story, you guys, with that, honestly. Oh, it is. Oh, it is, Tiffany. It is. It's definitely better. So I don't want you guys to think, it wasn't yesterday. This didn't happen yesterday. It wasn't that long ago, but it was definitely long enough ago. Okay. Um, yeah, I've made a full recovery from that. And shoot, I done went from having an EBT card to having to pay taxes, shoot, and a good amount. So Coach Lakia is fine, but I've had my times and I've definitely had my moments and my timeouts. But let me tell you how God turns the lemon to lemonade. It was during that time that I started this channel. It was during that time that I wrote 3 books. Like I always wanted to write a book, but I never had the time. But because I was in the shelter and I didn't have all this stuff over my head financially, I was up in the middle of the night writing these books. And that is when I started this channel. When I started this channel, I was homeless. How about that? When I started this channel, you guys, that's an insider right there. I was homeless. I was homeless and I was coming out of narcissistic abuse. And, it started out when I first started this channel, I thought it would be like family vlogs. And then I ended up telling you guys about the abuse, and a lot of people were connecting with it. I was like, well, we could keep talking about it. So I did. So I did. But through talking about that journey and helping a lot of people, honestly, um, I just grew more and more fascinated with the human mind. And I just wanted to always talk about psychology. So we just, here we are. Here we are, you guys. But, I've been in and out of the channel for my own personal reasons. And these are things that I don't really talk about with you guys, as far as why I'm not the most consistent person. 2 of my kids have schizophrenia. 2 of my kids have schizophrenia, and it's been a lot for me. There were times when they were going inpatient and outpatient, and I don't know what you guys know about that, but it can be a lot. So here I am, with 6 kids, 2 of them have schizophrenia, and I'm working 2 full-time jobs. I'm running a household and, a marriage, and just, it's been a lot. It's been a lot. I'm glad to say right now that everybody is really stabilized. Both of them are home with me. And, there's a lot that goes with that. There's medications that give in the morning, medications at night, and there's a lot with that. But I'm proud to say that both of them have finished high school. And, things are just looking up with that. One of them are now taking a shot, so they don't have to take these medicines in the morning and the night. There are other medicines they take, but not so much for the schizophrenia, but for other things. But, it's just finding my way with that. So there were times with that. And then I went through another toxic marriage during my time on this channel as well. And I just did that privately. And just a lot. So life be lifing. Life be lifing. And, if I'm in the middle of those type of crises with the inpatient and outpatient, you know, Yeah, it may not be the best time for me to come make a video, you know what I mean? So those type of things have affected my ability to just be as consistent as I wanted to be as a YouTuber. Because there was a time when I did this full time, honestly. When I first started the channel, it was full time, you know? And you guys see, I was bumping that content out. But, schizophrenia, it starts to rear its head a lot of time when teenagers are like 15, 16 years old. hmm And so they weren't quite there yet, but that time was coming for me. And when it did, it was like, whoa, it was a lot. So I had to deal with that. I had a lot of family crises and things to deal with that. So, everything is pretty balanced now. I've learned a lot in that process for sure. But it's been a lot, to see your kids go through that. It's not an easy thing to witness. It's not an easy thing to witness. So, and the crazy thing is, I'm such a private person that even the people on their dad's side of the family, they didn't even know about it. Like, only recently, I want to say last week, I finally told my ex husband's sister about it. And not only his sister, but his mother, their grandmother, didn't even know about the diagnoses. I like to shelter my kids in a certain kind of way, but we're family. I'm talking to you, but like even on my personal Facebook, I've never even mentioned it, you know, because I don't want to take away. I didn't put up like when they finished high school, I'm like, did you guys know all the inpatients and outpatients I went through and how hard it was? And da 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 da. Da. I didn't want to take away from their moment. It was like, no, they finished high school like everybody else, but they don't even know. Like, I have never even made the statement, but this is the first public statement I've even been willing to really make about this. But and that's between us. I'm sure people are watching, and hey, it is what it is. They're thriving. They're doing well. One of them has a job. The other one just finished high school this year. Proud of him. So, life really be life in you guys. And it's a lot. It's a lot. And I work from home. God's really blessed me in my corporate job to be able to work from home. Getting my degrees in finance have been a good look, because the one thing about this world is money don't stop and these banks ain't going nowhere. So it gives me a lot of job security. And but working these types of jobs definitely require a lot of concentration. I'm not low on the totem pole when it comes in this field. So I definitely do serious work. So that kind of intercepted things as well, because Coach Lakia likes nice things, and I couldn't do the YouTube full time anymore because it just the channel, I had such a specific niche, and I was like, well, I can't really live off of this. I'll be here for the channel. I kept my website up for coaching and all that good stuff, but I'm definitely gonna have to, do what I have to do outside of here. And there's just a lot of parts to me. I don't have to just divulge it all in this video. In time, if I feel like I should share other parts of me, I will. But I'm good. Tiffany says, wow, that's amazing how much you went through ever since you started the channel and where you are at now. Yeah. Yeah, God is good. He's good. He's definitely good. And you have to think about it. The sincere, positive energy that I put out on this channel is going to come back one way or another. It's going to come back one way or another. And I'm not doing this for any accolades or money. I really am paying it forward. Because I suffered. I have suffered at times. I really have, you guys. And I have a soft spot for other people who may be suffering too. And if there's anything I could do to try to, help you psychologically through that so that you can, lift yourself up, and or maybe even have prevention, a level of prevention, then, that's what the channel is really for. You know, um, I'm trying to get some type of routine back in here, which is why I'm doing these live chats. It's so much easier for me. And I've always said it in the past. than trying to edit the videos. I could just come on live. So, but yeah, I've been through a lot, but a lot of people, you know, when you meet a beautiful spirit like that, trust me, they have a story. And that's why they say everybody has a story. And this ain't even my story. This is just a part of my story, you guys. Like a part of my story. You know, my mother, she got pregnant with me at 13 for starters. Okay. So I just came into this world being a fighter. So, you know, it all wraps in with us talking about the thing about being strong, because this definitely took strength. You know, definitely took strength. There were times where, you know, I could have easily cracked, but, you know, I didn't want to give up. You know, there are a lot of things that keep me motivated. And one of those things definitely are my children. You know, I know what it feels like to be motherless. So all that suicide stuff, you can forget about that. I'm not leaving my kids alone in this world. You know, like I see how life is for us right now. I feel like all they got is me. There's no way. But that's why, you know, my own self-care and everything has to be A1. It just has to, because I have a lot of people depending on me. So I can't be stressing myself out. You know, I make sure I meditate. I damn sure be praying to God and stay connected to Him. You know, I return the sender any evil eye. You know, when you're on a public platform like this, you you're subjecting yourself to additional energies, you know. And even when you actually get into a type of business, when you're taking in people's traumas in a certain level, you know, you have to know how to dump that, you know, how to not let it consume you in a certain sense. So, you know, I definitely had to learn how to do that, especially once I had gotten to doing the coaching and all that. Because you hear a lot, like I've heard a lot. People have gone through a lot. But yeah, I just want to take a moment here, you know, share a part of my journey with you guys. But all is well, you know, even through all of that, all is very well, you guys. And it's been like a lemon to lemonade type of thing. And hi James M. Yeah. So, you know, all of us strong ones, you know, just keep everything balanced, you know. And yeah, just and just, you know, just make sure in your emotional maturity you're not letting that strength be to your detriment, you know. So, cuz then it'll be a situation where you're so strong that you're weak, you know? You're so strong that you're weak. So you don't want that. You don't want that. You do not want that. All right, you guys, I'm going to, because I do have a sleep hygiene for myself, and it's usually midnight is my cutoff, so we're a little bit past that. Um, I'm going to start winding myself down, and tonight I have to do okay, I'm just making sure we ain't spamming right now, because yesterday I had to literally block so many people. Before I go, if anyone has any questions, you could throw them in here. I will give you guys a minute to do that. But if you don't, you know, I really enjoyed the time that we spent here to get to this evening, or, you know, I don't know what time zone everybody's in. But it's always great to drop in on the channel. And I will be, like I said, I'm going to try to do a live chat on a day to day. It's more of an Ask Lakia type of thing, because that's where I shine. I love giving that advice, and I'm here to help. All right. I'll try to think of a topic for each live, you know, in case somebody does come through or don't. But just know that, you know, all things really are possible with God. They really are. That's a fact. All right. And You know, where you started don't have to be where you end. That's for a fact too. So you have a great evening too. Somebody says so strong that you are weak. It just means that going back to the strong and wrong concept, where someone is just strong and wrong, like bent on something that's just not going to actually be what you need to be doing. That's not going to work for you. That's the whole thing about that. People who are stubborn and resistance to change, or they want to do things one way, even if it's time and time again not working, that's strong and wrong. So don't be so strong that you're weak. And that's the same thing goes for being prideful. You know, that person is being so strong that they're weak too. You know, the strength of their ego has made them actually weak at that point, if you really think about it, because you're too strong to apologize. You're too strong to admit. And to me, that strength is actually a weakness. You think you being strong, but you're actually being weak because you're not facing things. You know, that makes you weak, not strong. Like, people get it like so twisted. You ain't strong because you're giving somebody a silent treatment unless there's a no contact to protect yourself from abuse. But if you're just avoiding conflict resolution, if you're just trying to punish somebody, you weak. That's weak. So that's the whole thing about that. That's the whole thing about that. It doesn't make you strong to punch a woman in the face. That makes you weak. You use the muscles, your strength of your arms, but that made you real weak in that moment. You see what I'm saying? Strong and wrong. So a lot of times people think they're in their strength, and they're just as much as a coward as a coward can be. So it's just having the emotional maturity to be able to determine when somebody is actually very weak. Actually very weak. The person that's yelling the loudest isn't the strongest per se. That doesn't make you the strongest because you're the loudest in the room. It might actually make you the weakest. You might be the neediest, the most attention seeking, the one with the most to approve. So, just jumping in our emotional maturity and understanding what's really strength. The strength might actually be the person who's holding it in a certain way, that has the composure to not just fly off of their emotions. You know what I mean? That might actually be the strength. The person who didn't escalate the situation. All right. All right, you guys. So she's like, got it. Hopefully you're not yelling at me. All right. He's like, I got it, Coach Lakia. I got it, girl. All right. I'm glad you got it. All right, you guys, have a good evening, and I will see you guys in the next live chat. If you have any ideas that you want me to talk about in the next live chat, any suggestions, you can let me know down in the comment section, all right? Okay. Great. Yeah. I know, because sometimes I can be a little long-winded. But honestly, the introvert in me loves to come on here. It's like a good way for me to socialize. Not to say that there aren't mad people in my waking life vying for my attention, but it's in a different kind of way. Like, we're talking about intellect, we're talking about life, we're talking about psychology. I know when I come here, it's a different kind of conversation. So, yeah. Yeah, and maybe I'll zhuzh up a little bit for you guys. I'll start zhuzhing up, but you just see my little natural glow right now. This is a clean face. I gotta go use some toner on it actually, but maybe I'll be zhuzhing up. It's like you used to zhuzh up for so much. The older I get, though, it's like the less I have to prove. But maybe in my rebranding, I don't know, like, uh. It's just, that's like another thing on my plate. But I have a beautiful vanity full of all types of beautiful makeup. I love Lancome. But let me get off of here before I start digressing and end up talking for another hour. You guys have a good evening. Feel free to look at any of the previous uploads over the last 2 days. There's a lot. I'll have no water next to me. And, I don't talk for a whole hour. But take care, you guys. I'm going to sign off, all right?